I wasn't on the guest list. I checked twice just to be sure. It was printed on a folded program by the entrance. Cream cardstock, gold trim, the kind that smudges if your fingers sweat. Spring Family Reunion, May 3rd, Ridgeview Baptist Fellowship Hall. Beneath the header, names, roles, potluck assignments. Carla on flowers, Tyler on setup, someone had even assigned someone else to bring deviled eggs. My name wasn't anywhere. Still, I walked in. I told myself I just wanted to see the room. That was a lie, of course. I wanted to see who they became without me. The hall looked exactly like I remembered. Beige linoleum, metal folding chairs in rows of 8. A plastic table skirt clinging desperately to a buffet line of casseroles and bottled sodas. The banner stretched across the back wall. Family, faith, forever, hung slightly crooked, like always. The air smelled like yellow cake and furniture polish. People laughed in soft, practiced tones, the kind you learn to use in small towns, where everything echoes and nothing really fades. No one noticed me at first. That's the thing about leaving quietly. They don't see you come back either. I stayed near the back, just beside the coffee urn. There was a floral centerpiece balanced on an old hymnal, plastic daisies poking out. Like they were still trying to convince someone they were alive. A woman I didn't recognize handed me a paper cup without asking. I took it, said, "Thank you." She thought I was someone's guest. She wasn't wrong. I didn't belong here, not anymore. But I'd brought something with me, small, silent, and heavy. It was zipped up inside the backpack on my shoulder, pressing against my spine. Like a truth you can't unlearn. It buzzed once, then again, then a third time. I didn't reach for it. I just let it vibrate in rhythm with the church air conditioner humming overhead. The sound fit in strangely well. Everything here was built on hums. AC units, gossip, polite forgetting. At the front of the room, Aunt Carla stood next to a podium, adjusting the guest book. She looked good, stiff but polished, like she always did when she hosted. I remember once she told me, "People don't remember what you wear, just whether you looked prepared." That was before she stopped answering my emails. Behind her, Tyler was stacking folding chairs with one hand and eating a deviled egg with the other. He had my old flannel tied around his waist, the green and blue one I left in the hallway closet. The room was full of familiar faces, though none of them looked at me long enough to recognize mine. That's what happens when you become an absence, you get replaced by memory. Someone pressed play on a Bluetooth speaker. Randy Travis came through, slow and tender. A child danced barefoot in the aisle while her mother laughed behind a hand. I stood very still. This wasn't anger, not really. This was something slower, older, like dust collecting in a Bible no one opens anymore. I wasn't invited, but they chose today, my birthday. They chose this day to remember everyone but me. I sipped my coffee. It was bitter and a little burnt. It suited the moment. The backpack buzzed again, its third and final time. I smiled, just barely. It had begun. I don't remember who said the words first, Mom or Dad. They spoke almost in unison, like they'd practiced. "It's time you stood on your own." That was what they told me over dinner. 1 year ago, to the day. The table was set like any other Tuesday night. Boxed mashed potatoes, meatloaf with too much ketchup, and green beans that still squeaked when you chewed them. No cake, no candles, no mention of the date. I'd worked 10 hours that day, I remember, because my legs ached. And my hands still smelled faintly like printer ink and coffee grounds from the office kitchen. I'd just finished washing my uniform shirt in the sink when Mom called me to the table. "Don't be late," she said. I thought maybe there'd be a small surprise, one of those lopsided sheet cakes from the gas station bakery. I would have settled for a card. Instead, there was a suitcase, not even a new one. It had a broken zipper and a sticker from a trip I never took. Dad didn't raise his voice, he just handed me the suitcase and said, "You're grown, and we all need space." I didn't cry, I didn't shout, I just stood there, blinking. Trying to find the edges of the moment, something to hold on to, but it slipped past me like so many others. I'd been paying half the mortgage for over a year. Helped cover utilities, groceries, even filled Mom's gas tank a few times without saying a word. I figured we were a family, we pitched in where we could. Turns out, that only counts when you don't start asking questions. I left that night with what I could carry, my clothes, my laptop. And the quilt Grandma June gave me before she passed, stitched by hand, one square at a time. Back when people made things to last. No one called, no one asked where I landed. A week later, Tyler moved into my old room. He's my cousin, barely 20, still figuring himself out, as Mom liked to say. The day I dropped by to pick up the last of my books, I found the door painted blue, the bed replaced. My name peeled off the underside of the closet shelf. He smiled when he saw me, said, "Hey, cuz, I thought you were done with the space." I nodded, told him to keep the shelf, there wasn't anything left to carry anyway. After that, it was silence. No birthday calls, no holiday invitations. My name vanished from the group text thread in the family email list. When Carla sent out the Thanksgiving photo collage that November, there was a photo of the dining table. Mom, Dad, Tyler, and two others I didn't recognize. My chair was empty. The caption said, "Thankful for home, health, and fresh starts." That's how they framed it, not abandonment, just transition. They didn't slam the door, they slowly closed it, repainted it, handed the keys to someone easier to love. That kind of forgetting doesn't come loud, it comes soft. Like someone turning down the radio until your voice fades into static. But I never forgot, I kept the shelf label, my name written in pencil, still smudged from when I was 12. I found it in my coat pocket 6 months later, folded it into my wallet like a relic. It reminded me I had been there once, and I was not gone, not yet. The trailer wasn't much, but it had a roof that didn't leak. And a window that caught the morning sun just right. It sat near the edge of a gravel lot off Highway 42, about 40 minutes south of Atlanta. Most people passed it without looking twice, that suited me fine. I kept things simple. A second-hand desk, a twin mattress on the floor. And a coffee maker I rescued from a church rummage sale. The power flickered when the microwave ran too long, but I learned to work around it. By day, I picked up small tech jobs, setting up routers for retirees, entangling email spam for neighbors who still used AOL. In the evenings, I read manuals and watched old detective shows on a TV the size of a breadbox. There was a certain dignity in fixing things no one else wanted to touch. One Tuesday afternoon, I sat on the vinyl floor with a pile of envelopes. Most of them bills, 2 of them catalogs for stores I'd never afford. I opened one from a credit company I didn't recognize, thinking it was another ad. Instead, it listed my name across the top, balance due, $3,642.88. At first, I thought it was a mistake, then I checked my credit report. 3 active cards, all opened years ago under my name, authorized users listed as my parents. Each one maxed out, charges for gas, groceries, online furniture, even a cruise deposit. I stared at the screen for a long time. I remembered helping them apply. I had good credit, they didn't, it's just for emergencies, Mom had said. You'll always be protected. I never signed formal power of attorney, but in families like ours, consent doesn't always come with paperwork. Sometimes it's given in silence and loyalty, in the way you learn to say yes because saying no isn't safe. I didn't freeze the accounts, not yet, not out of fear, out of strategy. Each month, I paid the minimums, quietly, without warning. I didn't call or confront, I didn't demand repayment, I knew better than to expect that. Instead, I opened a folder on my laptop titled, Inheritance, Unofficial. Inside it, I started keeping things. Screenshots, email threads, card statements. Every little fingerprint they left behind, not to prosecute, just to preserve. Like evidence in a museum no one would visit. Some nights, I lay awake doing math in my head. How many shifts it would take to cover a payment, whether I could afford new tires. Whether it was foolish to keep carrying their burden when they'd already set me down. But I didn't stop, I made my own meals, I folded my own laundry. I even bought a second-hand fireproof box to store printouts of every financial record tied to my name. No one told me to do that, no one needed to. After a while, you learn how to prepare for storms you never get warned about. People think revenge is loud, that it comes in shouting and broken dishes. But there's another kind, the quieter kind. It doesn't kick down doors, it waits, it watches, it documents. I wasn't waiting for them to hurt, I wasn't trying to punish. I just wanted to be free, and I wanted a record, a truth only I could hold. That I had been more than they believed. They didn't invite me, but I showed up anyway. The invitation wasn't addressed to me, it came through a Facebook post, bright and cheerful, Carla's doing, of course. A pastel graphic with daisies and cursive font, Spring Family Reunion, May 3rd, Ridgeview Baptist Fellowship Hall, 12:30 p.m., all welcome. All welcome, that was the part that stuck with me. I stared at it for a long while, not because I didn't understand, I did. It wasn't an invitation, it was a declaration. The kind that lets everyone know who still counts and who's been quietly written out. May 3rd, my birthday, same day as last year. Same day they sent me off with a suitcase and a forkful of overcooked meatloaf. I didn't comment, didn't like the post, but I marked it on my calendar in pencil. Soft lead, easy to erase if I lost my nerve, I didn't. That Sunday, I ironed my cleanest shirt and polished the only shoes I still had from my office days. The leather had cracked along the edges, but they held together fine. I left the trailer at 11:10, not early, not late, just on time. The drive was quiet, I let the hum of the road settle my hands. Ridgeview Baptist looked the same, brick-faced, low-slung, with a parking lot that always needed resurfacing. I parked near the back, where the shade lasted longer, sat for a minute, just breathing. I didn't go in the front, I went around the side, through the same side door we used during church cleanup days. My fingers still remembered the weight of the metal handle. Inside, it smelled like pine sol and lemon sheet cake, same as ever. People moved in and out of folding chairs, hugging and swapping stories. A child ran past me, giggling, nearly knocking into a tray of potato salad. No one looked twice, I kept to the edges, near the drink station. Coffee, tea, 3 pitchers of sweetened punch, same punch Carla made every year with Sprite and frozen fruit rings. I stood there a while, watching. Tyler was helping Uncle Jim with decorations near the podium, his hand wrapped around a roll of Scotch tape. He'd grown a beard since I last saw him, looked older, but not wiser. He wore the flannel I left behind. I saw my mother across the room, she laughed at something Carla said. Then reached over to straighten the sleeve on Dad's jacket. Her movements were so familiar, I could have predicted each one. Like a song I knew by heart but hadn't heard in years. She didn't see me, or if she did, she chose not to, that was all right. I wasn't here to be seen. At 12:46, my phone buzzed once, I didn't reach for it, I just let it hum in my pocket. At 12:49, it buzzed again, then at 12:52, a third time, steady, final. That was the signal. 3 cards, 3 closures, done quietly through the channels I'd set up weeks before. I hadn't needed passwords I didn't already have, the accounts were in my name. I simply reclaimed what I had once signed away. I sipped the punch, too sweet, as always. Then I looked toward the gift table. A stack of presents sat beneath a sign. "Leave your love here." I would, but not the kind they expected. It started small. Someone, Aunt Darlene, I think, swiped her card at the donation kiosk near the entry table. A frown crept across her face like a shadow under a storm cloud. She tapped the screen twice, then glanced down into her wallet, lips pressed tight. "It's probably just the reader," she muttered. Then another, my mother, this time. She stood at the punch table, trying to buy raffle tickets for Carla's quilt fundraiser. When her card failed, she blinked once, slowly, then tried again. The second time, she pulled the card out faster, like the speed might change the outcome. No luck. She gave a short laugh and turned toward Dad. "These readers are always finicky," she said, her voice carried a little too far. "It's probably the Wi-Fi, you know how this church is." Dad didn't reply, he was watching the screen like it had personally insulted him. Carla, ever the diplomat, swooped in, hands clasped together. "Oh, goodness, don't worry, y'all, happens all the time, these machines never work right on Sundays." She laughed, light and bright, like a hostess trying to salvage a dinner party where the roast came out raw. But the air shifted, you can feel it when a room starts to turn. The quiet gets louder, the smiles go stiff. I saw someone look my way, a man I barely knew from my father's side. I didn't look back. Instead, I walked toward the gift table. I moved slow, unhurried, like I belonged. No one stopped me. I placed a manila folder right on top of the wrapped box labeled, "To Mom and Dad with love from Tyler." My handwriting on the tab read, "Documents, May 3rd. I didn't open it, I didn't say a word. Then I stepped back and returned to the drink table, poured myself another cup of punch. Behind me, I heard Carla's voice drop to a whisper, "What's this?" Plastic crinkled, paper shifted, then silence. Mom must have opened it. I didn't turn, but I could feel her eyes pressing into my back. Like sunlight through a magnifying glass. Inside the folder. Credit statements in my name, all with her purchases. Screenshots from the accounts, showing late fees and limits exceeded. A notarized letter confirming I'd submitted an identity protection complaint to the credit bureau. Nothing angry, nothing rude, just the facts, a mirror. Someone coughed, the kind of cough people use to fill dead air. I heard Tyler ask, "What is that?" No answer. Dad's voice came next, low, measured, "Where did you get this?" Still, I said nothing. I didn't need to speak, I'd already said everything in print. Mom tried again, her voice thin, like it had traveled a long way to reach her lips. "It's complicated, these cards, they're shared family accounts, that's all. People forget what's under whose name." It was a poor defense, even she knew it. I could hear it in the way her voice broke on, "Forget." Someone near the dessert table said, "Is that why mine didn't go through?" Then it began to ripple, quiet at first, curious glances, bent necks. People peering toward the folder, as if it might tell them something they hadn't dared to ask. No one raised their voice, no one stormed out, that's not how my family operates. They believe in silence, in smiling through it. But silence is a strange thing, it doesn't erase truth, it preserves it. And now they had it, all of it. I left before the paper cups hit the trash, no one stopped me, no one called my name. That's the thing about being forgotten, you tend to leave the same way you arrived. Quietly. I slipped out through the side door, the one near the old nursery room. With the faded Noah's Ark mural still peeling in the corner. I walked slow, not out of hesitation, but out of habit, some exits deserve their full weight. The sun had shifted west, the light came in soft, angling low across the gravel. My car sat where I'd left it, still in the shade. I opened the door, eased into the seat, and let the quiet settle in before turning the key. There, on the passenger seat, was a small bakery box, white cardboard, tied with twine. Inside, a single vanilla cupcake, the frosting done up in faint pink swirls, just as I'd asked. I bought it the day before, not because I expected anyone to bring cake. Because I needed something to mark the day. Some things deserve ritual, even when no one else remembers. I took out the candle next to it, thin, white, no frills. I pressed it gently into the frosting and lit it with the old lighter I keep in the glove box. I didn't make a wish, I'd outgrown that kind of magic long ago. Instead, I watched the flame flicker in the rearview mirror behind me. The fellowship hall buzzed faintly with voices that were trying too hard not to whisper. I imagined them picking through the folder, lips pursed, eyes down. The kind of polite crisis where no one says what they really mean. That was their way, always had been. I didn't hate them for it, I just finally understood it. Some people rewrite history, not to lie, but to survive the version where they weren't kind. I blew out the candle, not dramatically, just enough to let a smoke curl and vanish. The photo was already taped to my dash, an old one, from 1999, at Aunt Trudy's 4th of July picnic. Everyone was there. Dad with his barbecue tongs, Mom in her sun hat, Carla holding a lemonade. And me, barefoot in the grass, looking straight at the camera. Like I knew, even then, it would all come back around someday. I'd torn the photo, not cleanly, just one corner, my corner. I didn't do it out of spite, I did it because sometimes the only way to prove you existed is to choose when and how to step away. Let them tell whatever version they need to sleep at night. Let them shake their heads, say, "She's always been difficult." Or, "It's such a shame what happened between them." That's fine, I didn't come back for an apology, I didn't need one. I came back to place something down quietly in the middle of a room that once pretended I was never there. And now they know better. I turned the key, backed out slow, let the gravel crunch behind me like applause. Then I drove, I didn't look in the mirror again. Some endings don't need witnesses. Sometimes, walking away is the loudest thing you can do. She didn't leave to be forgiven, she left so they could no longer pretend she'd never existed. If this story stirred something in you, something you thought time had buried, you're not alone. Here on Reddit Reveal, we remember the ones who were erased and the quiet power of coming back on your own terms. Subscribe if you believe the truth deserves to be heard. And if you've ever been forgotten, we see you.